So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in front of such a great crowd here. So I'm Andre Christ, I'm one of the two founders of leanIX, and I would like to show you what we are doing actually. So we are a SaaS company based in Germany, and we are establishing a knowledge hub for business and IT transformation. So what does it mean actually? So I'm trying to explain it by using those three use cases here. So pick the first one, Zalando. So I'm sure you all heard of that. So they are scaling their business model really fast at the moment, and they have the challenge that at the same time they need to make sure that the IT architecture underneath is also scaling the same way. So we are helping them with our solution to get a transparency on that and to be able to scale it as fast as possible. Then another use case is Helvetia Insurance. They have just bought a big other insurance in Switzerland, and they have the challenge to build up a roadmap in order to really get the synergies out of that merger. So they want to know what are the applications which survive in order to really get the value out of that merger. And the third use case we're supporting is digital transformation at Axel Springer. So you all know that the publishing industry is really changing. So they are bringing new business models in place. And of course, they need to change the underlying IT landscape as well in order to make new products happen. So what do companies often have in common if we come into place? Yeah. So it's often a picture like we're showing here. So often there's someone who knows how IT is looking like. And it's a bit similar to this shop here. You will find someone who can tell how everything is tied together and where every application is and so on. But also research confirms that in most companies, IT decisions are taken based on data which is more than a year old and often only half accurate. So how can you manage all this and transform your business by not knowing what is going on in your IT landscape? So what's our approach here? So we help companies to do an as-is stock taking by putting all the data in our platform. And then we establish a kind of a knowledge hub. So our companies or our customers then know what applications are they using, what technology, what are they using those applications for. And then based on that, they can build roadmaps, they can create a target architecture for their products in order to see how IT is going to evolve. So how are we different from anything else what is in place? Because you could tell we can do it with Excel sheets, or we can do it with all those platforms we have. So the difference is we come with a predefined model. So that means our customers are ready to start in less or in 1 to 2 weeks. So competitor products take 6 months in order to set up and get everything running because often they're not in the cloud, or they have a very complicated model you need to customize. Then the second thing is we have a really fast rollout schedule with our solution. Yeah, so we use state-of-the-art usability, which is very common to other platforms you know from private life, where you search for data or where you put data in. And then, of course, we have an open API, which allows us to connect to existing systems like Jira. We have connections to other systems which come from process management in order to get that data automatically into the platform and not in putting like processes in again. And then why do we achieve better data quality in the end? So our approach is not only to involve IT architects and experts, but we put in place a platform which allows everyone in the company to understand what IT is doing. So this is basically the approach, how we are different. So to make it a bit more concrete, so I put a couple of screenshots here. So basically, leanIX is like an educated wiki where you put all the information about your IT landscape in, and then the teams which are running the projects in the company get powerful visualizations out of there, like heat maps, which are showing how the different applications are supporting the IT process today. Or you get out what are the data flows looking like. So for example, if you need to know in which systems you have customer data and what is that customer data flowing in your IT landscape. So what is the typical business case we have when we come to discussion of how useful that is for me as a customer? So leanIX is following a SaaS pricing model. So it goes from a starter edition of 4,000 euros up to 74K a year. So let's pick a typical business case here for an SME model, which would cost 24K. So we can show that by having a faster project start, the company saves by not needing to look around for data, knowing what are the applications which are needed for for a project, what are the dependencies, and so on. So this is one pillar of the business case. Another thing is that if you have the transparency about what you're using in your company, you can often reduce 10 to 15% of those applications. You just can shut them down because no one is using it. So there's a huge potential in consolidation available in those landscapes. So if you remember the picture I showed before, often this picture is literally available in the IT landscape. Yeah? You have a lot of systems in place where you never consolidated before. And then there's a third pillar there, which is just a productivity boost. So if you have a platform you use to exchange all the information in your IT department, it's much better than shooting around emails or doing Excel all the time. So what is the company state at the moment? So we are a little more than 30 customers having at this time. So leanIX is 3.5 years old. So you might see that we've been able to acquire a lot of interesting brands globally. So we're active in different industries right now, logistics, media, insurance, and so on. So that we getting also traction not only in the DACH region, but also in the US, Australia, Spain. So currently we see like more than 100% year-on-year growth, and we're happy to win a great investor in the beginning of this year to further speed up this growth. So why do we think that this is really relevant at the moment? So there are 3 factors. We see factors like agile development, microservice architecture, and containerized deployment. So what does it mean? So if you want to build an agile organization, you need to give people free access to information. So you cannot get the full power out of such an initiative if you don't have the information in place, but all the teams are running around and trying to get access to the relevant data. So this is one important piece. And then there's the thing about microservices. You might have heard like that companies like Netflix and other big companies are embracing this new way of designing their architectures. So this means you get more dependencies, you get more fine granular services, and you need a way to manage it in a good way. Yeah, so and this is where leanIX kicks in and helps IT leaders and IT managers to get control over everything. And there's a third factor, which is containerized deployment. So you might have all heard about this hype about Docker and so on. We really believe in this way of deploying applications, but it also means that resources get much more dynamic. So it's no longer a data center, which is really static, but it's like you have to get an understanding how you deploy and dynamically understand where your applications are. So what are our key priorities? So we want to enter the US market systematically. So at the moment we have a couple of US customers. We have some contracts ready for signing, but do this in a more mature way. Then we would like to establish a global partnership. So we currently partner with consultancies in different areas already, which do pre-sales for us or just use our product in their projects. So we want to do this on a much more global scale now. And also one thing we are going to prepare is to intensify investment in our growth. So these are the 3 priorities we currently have. Yeah, so I'm happy to exchange on this on those topics as being one of the 2 co-founders of that company. Thank you very much.
And you import it into your system. So you're as good as any other data collection would be, just using maybe a better system. So how do you get the parts of the IT that are not documented but still used?
Yeah, that's a good question. So how we do it is often companies implement like check methods against it. So for example, with our system, you can put in place the IT budget, which you use to run your IT landscape. So if you put against that and see what is missing to see the entire IT budget. Yeah? So you end up, if you put those systems in our documentation platform and see it only reaches up to, let's say, 100K of run costs, but in total you see in your balance sheet you have 200,000 run costs. So that's one factor how you would be able to close the gap. So you simply see by summing up the costs. Another thing is that you implement measures that you don't further invest into IT, so you don't fund any projects anymore with IT relevance, which for applications which are not in the platform. So you include it into your investment processes.
I was more talking about like departments just starting to use cloud-based services without telling IT. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I've seen clients that actually started to use Salesforce somewhere in the organization without telling the global IT guys, because they saw that if I tell them, they will stop it immediately and force me to use their own slow-moving CRM.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a software. It's not like, it's not replacing well-functioning organizations. So that's why what we help is, we are going away from an IT governance IT organization, which is like being closed shop, but we're trying to, and that's what we're doing, for example, at Kühne + Nagel. So we're establishing a platform where business leaders are going on that platform and doing the registering and questioning of their applications themselves. So it's no longer like, this is the gatekeeper of IT. We are trying to transform the IT organization to provide a platform and orchestrate what the business would like to do. So that's what we're trying to do. But of course, it's just it's a tool. In the end, we cannot change how organizations work, but we can foster the change a bit.
What's the effort that you're having to onboard the customers? So how long does it take for you?
Yeah, so it's very minimal at the moment. So we're doing a couple of WebEx trainings. So we offer a service where we take data of existing systems. So we're just usually in the area of less than a week. So where we take data, which is an additional service we provide. It's paid. Not all the customers want it. So we have in like, it's a few days what we're doing. It's not a consulting thing we are offering. And also the shift we're doing is, it's not, the introduction process is really short. So, and if the customers want consulting on top of it, they can buy it from other partners. But it's more like going into the platform after the transparency has been raised. So it's not doing the transparency. That's what the customers can do on their own.
Thank you.
Okay.